What's up, everybody? It's your boy IOY. I love Yaz. Basically, Hamza's just dropped this video. It's a guide video to being masculine. I want to react to, well, not react to it, rather follow along on it, because I clicked on it on my phone and I was like, oh shoot, I can record myself doing this and try to see, try to show people what Hamza's all about, and see how effective this masculine guide video really is. So we're gonna get right into this video. Let's close out of there. Sorry.
Jeffrey was raised in a feminine way. Through his time in school, his teachers demonized masculine traits and rewarded feminine ones. And so Jeffrey and the majority of men of his generation struggle with masculinity. When he grows up, Jeffrey finds himself focused on love and relationships and on the girl that he has a crush on, whilst she's focused on her goals and her studies. He feels bad, he feels weak, but he doesn't really know what the issue is. Adonis is the ultimate masculine man. That means that Adonis's mind is always on his mission, his purpose, and his work. Adonis thinks about his mission, women think about Adonis, and Jeffrey thinks about women. Figure out where you want to be in this equation. This video may be like the father that you never had. You've never been taught how to be a man. Your time in the education system conditioned you to be more of a pushover, weak and feminine, submissive, always waiting for the authority figure to tell you what to do. Perhaps you've never even had a father figure. Maybe he wasn't in the home or he was always in work. And most certainly you have not been surrounded by a tribe of men who have put you through a rite of passage. Rites of passages were how boys became men, and we do not have those these days. What does all of this lead to? A generation of soft, weak men. We can't even call them men. Guys. A weak man-child who procrastinates from his work because he doesn't feel like doing his work, or he doesn't feel like studying, or he doesn't feel like going to the gym, so he simply doesn't do those things. He masturbates whilst wishing that he could just get girls, but he's just struggling and he feels lonely. You've always heard of this word purpose, but you've never really been sure if you have it or not. How do you find it? This video will show you. What you've clicked on is not another normal YouTube video. I'm not going to try and sell you some Dollar Shave Club product or some like Lumen fucking skincare product halfway through this video. This is a full guide to masculinity, a guide on becoming a man, the kind of conversation that your father should have had with you. For that reason, this video deserves your full attention. Your attention span is fucked, and that's a major reason of why you struggle in life. Don't keep scrolling to the comments. Don't check.
That's true, man. At least my attention span, it's terrible, man. It's like, even sometimes when I go to the gym now, sometimes I get distracted. I just see a video that I like, or
your phone,
or an Instagram post or something, and I just start staring at it, and I tell myself it's okay because I'm trying to restore my ATP stores, or I'm trying to rest back up so I can be able to do my next set. But sometimes I do it to an excessive amount. Yeah, I feel like we're so caught up in just in our depression that we try to find easy ways to alleviate that, and we do it through scrolling and whatever, and then we get so used to trying to alleviate that depression, or palliate it, that we just get turned into junkies, man. That's how you get addicted to stuff, man. And that's how you get addicted to like looking at your phone, and addicted to porn. Both things I try to work on, man. Porn's bad, man. It screwed with me, man. It really did. Scrolling through the internet is bad, man. That also really screwed with me. It's still screwing with me. So, I'm watching this video. And usually when you're watching any video, just try to just watch the video. You can, like in YouTube, you can kind of scroll out and watch the video and then look at other videos while you're watching. Don't do that shit. I do that. I'm gonna admit I do it a lot, but I should definitely try to stop doing that. And I'm not gonna do it for this video for sure.
Don't click on other tabs and start looking at the suggested videos. If you really want this video to change your life, if you really want to become more masculine and get all of the rewards, so many rewards that come from this journey, you need to give this your full attention, your full focus. Your focus deteriorates heavily if you try and multitask. Listening to this video whilst doing some work, this video deserves your full attention because it will change your life. You already know what life's like already when you're not that masculine. You feel weak, you feel feminine, you feel like a pushover. You're always a little bit envious, even though you've never wanted to admit it. And it sounds cringe to say this. You've always been a little bit envious of those alpha male personality types. You see those guys, that guy, you know who I'm talking about. You have one particularly in your mind. You see that guy attracting the girl that you want. You see that guy doing well in his business and his studies, and you wish you could become a little bit more like him, driven, focused on his goals, disciplined, and yet you spend most of your time with your feminine energy obsessing about girls who don't even think about you back. And that's exactly what being more masculine and following this guide will get you. You'll start focusing more on your work, your mission, and your goals, and with that, you will become the most successful of your entire life. You'll make more money in your business or your career, or you'll start getting higher grades in school. Because your masculine drive is finally being harnessed, you'll feel accomplished because of all these good things that you're doing. You will notice a significant increase in how much girls are attracted to you after you follow this guide. And the interesting thing is that it will feel nice, but you just won't care anywhere near as much as you thought you would. And that's a powerful place to be. That's abundance. That's what we want. It's time to begin this guide in your journey to becoming a man. And we need to first find out how masculine you are right now. I must tell you that this is an actionable video. Do not half-ass this video. There's going to be times when I'm going to ask you to pause the video and do something
On some meta stuff, man. While I'm doing the things he's saying in the video, you do the things that he's saying to do in the video while I'm doing the things he's doing to say in the video. You know what I mean? So we're all doing the things he's saying to do in the video. And you're gonna be like, oh, but I'm a rebel with a cause. I don't follow the rules. That's why your life sucks, because you listen to authority when you're supposed to stand up, and you don't listen to authority when you're supposed to shut the fuck up. That's why your life sucks. So
in real
follow the video. Follow the guide.
life to follow along. If you really want this guide to help you, follow along to every step that I say, because if you don't, if you have this bullshit little pussy excuse of like, oh, well, you know, I'll do it in a few minutes. Oh, you know, he's telling me to do something, but I'm a little bit tired. I can't find that thing, or I can't do that thing just yet. So, you know, I'll keep watching the rest of the video. Then maybe I'll come back. No, this video will only change your life if you follow along with me with every step possible. So do this right now. Go get a piece of paper and a pen. And if you don't have those things in your house, I will link a whiteboard service. You need something that you can draw on. So I will link like a whiteboard website that you can like draw, you know, on the screen on your computer. But best case scenario, just go get a piece of paper and a pen. Pause this video up until you go get that. Right in front of you, right here, right now, should be a piece of paper and a pen or something that you can draw on. Or like some whiteboard online website that I will link in the description if you want to use that. Now draw a long rectangle bar. Write the letter F on the left side of this bar, and then write the letter M on the right side of this bar. F stands for feminine, M stands for masculine. Now, in a second, I'm going to ask you to draw a line.
Hopefully you can see that.
On where you think you are in this spectrum between feminine and masculine energy. But first, let me just explain what they are. The more you push over to the F, the feminine side, the more that you're obsessed with love. You'll be submissive, thinking about relationships or the girl that you're in love with. You'll fall in love really quickly. You'll feel quite anxious and almost neurotically, like thinking and checking up on the person that you're currently in love with. And you'll have a desire to feel fulfilled. Now, the more we push onto the M side, the masculine side, the more that you'll be obsessed with work, goals, mission, purpose. You'll be thinking about your career or your studies, what task to do next. You'll literally be going about your day, whether you're having a shower, you've just woken up, and you'll be thinking about work and studies. You'll be dominant and stoic, and you'll have a desire to feel free. Now, first, what I want you to do is look at this bar. On the left side is feminine, on the right side is masculine.
Give me a second. I know it's not going to show up that well on the camera, so I'm going to darken this in so people can see it better. Okay.
And of course, the more that you push out to the extreme ends means the more you are that thing, and the more that you come into the middle means that you're more of like a mix in between masculine and feminine energy. I want you first to draw like a little star on where you want to be in this spectrum? What is your goal energy? Draw a star there, and then draw a line of where.
Now, here's the interesting thing. As someone who is, I've never really talked about my religion. I am. It's not really a religion, but I believe in the Divine Mother, God so fire. Anyways, from what my understanding is, we have male and feminine, we have masculine and feminine energies, like man and women. You know, you don't find a guy who's just completely masculine. You know, you don't find a woman who's just completely feminine. You know, that they have a little bit of both, and that's fine. You know, the reason, you know, he has the star pretty far to the right, but he doesn't have it all the way to the right. You know, it's like basically a political compass. Do you really want to be all the way on the right? You know, because that, if you're all the way on the right, that means you're like in the totalitarian, you know, area. And if you're all the way on the left, that means you're socialist, communist, basically. So you definitely got to find not a middle ground. You don't have to be in the middle, but definitely think about how far masculine do you really want to be. I want to be pretty much around there, actually. Honestly, you know, if I can get that masculine, that would be pretty cool. And where do I think I am? I would say, I wouldn't say I'm feminine. You know, I'd say I'm pretty close. Like, I'm not too terribly on the left. So there you go. That's what I think. Or on the female side. Hopefully that came out well. Did that come out well? I don't know. Anyways, let's see what's going on
right now. It's very interesting. If you imagine the results of this little practice that we've just done with everyone who's watched this video on YouTube and all of the young men who have taken this practice, imagine you could like fly up into the air and see every young man who has done this practice, and you could see their pieces of paper. What do you think the results would be of this? You would see an entire generation of men wishing that they could be more masculine. Their star would be more on the masculine side than their line. It's very interesting, isn't it? It's almost a universe.
Just for the sake of this video, I'm actually going to move my line a little closer to the feminine side. I will talk about that later. That I actually do kind of feel like I have a lot of feminine energy in a weird way. Some that's almost an insidious amount. And I'll go into detail on that later. So I'm just going to move it a little closer to feminine.
Desire for guys to want to become men. This is a huge problem. But we're here today to fix that. First, let me tell you my story with my own masculine and feminine energy. Now, you can skip this section if you don't want to hear my story and you want to go straight to the practices and the education, you can do that. But I think it might be
if you want to know about Hamza's story, you want to know how he became who he is, I'm going to link the video in the description. So if you want to know about him, you can hear that, but we're just going to get right into it. I know this story of Hamza. I've been a fan for pretty much this entire year, so I know a lot.
We have to discuss something now, and I'm going to get into a little bit of a rant, so maybe you can skip this section if you want, or if you enjoy my rants, or if you just want to hear this guy, like, hate society, then you can listen if you want. We have to explain why you are not masculine already, because this is a new concept for men to be raised and not turn into men. Legally, you might be a man, but you're not. The majority of men are not men. They're guys. This isn't manhood. This is guyhood. For some reason, I always have this level of hatred. Yeah, guys are weak. But then I started to ask myself why. And I realized it's not necessarily a guy's fault that he's weak and he's feminine. Now, of course, you know, as men, we should take responsibility for our actions. But if you've been raised in a certain way which has led you to this point, is it really your fault, or is there an enemy at hand? And forgive me for sounding crazy, but there is an enemy, and there is a war on masculinity. There absolutely.
Yeah, guys, you can't completely blame yourself, man. It's not your fault. This is a well orchestrated plan by who shall not be named, because I don't want to get banned. But this is a well orchestrated plan to destroy men's masculinity and destroy females' femininity. I also think on the same spectrum. I mean, the people who've done this are very intelligent people, and they've been working at this for years. Could even say hundreds of years, man. I mean, this is a crazy plan. That's what I think. Anyways, it's not your fault. I mean, you were born in this system that they created, so don't feel bad, man.
It is a war on masculinity and testosterone. From the moment of birth, you are conditioned. You are conditioned to be weak and feminine and submissive. You enter the school system as a legal requirement. And what's very interesting is our perception of school, you know, it has to be a little bit positive because, yeah, education is really important. But you don't really learn that much in school. You aren't taught important things that you actually need to be a good, functioning human being. All of school is just a big act of conditioning for you to be submissive and to follow the instructions of the authority figure, so that as soon as you turn 18 or whatever age it is in your country, you're ready to enter the workforce as a submissive pawn in the game of like some big corporation. You've got to either love or hate what I'm saying here, and whether you agree with it or not, you feel the consequences of it. You are not even a quarter of the man that your great-grandfather was. You have less than a third of his testosterone. When you want to have children, you will struggle. Your sperm count is at an all-time low. Your testosterone is at an all-time low. So many random shit. You know, there's studies which literally show that a man's hand grip for a handshake is at the weakest they've ever found through the history of like them. Like, I don't know, like this has been like a longitudinal study. Researchers have literally been studying the strength of a man's like handshake grip for a long time, and this is the weakest handshake grip that we have. Little fucking limp handshake, motherfucker. This is what we've been reduced to. Men aren't really needed anymore.
Come on, guys. We all know the, you know what I'm saying? People go like, you know, it's true, man. It's true. We don't do firm handshakes anymore, man. We don't do any firm handshakes. You know, so I'll dap that guy up real quickly. Some pussy shit, man. I do it. I'm not gonna say I don't do that. You know, I don't go around handshaking all the male people around me. You know, I dap them up too, but gotta admit, it's a lot cooler to fucking do a solid handshake. That's gangster, man. That's top G shit. To just handshake, man. That is an indomitable symbol, man. A handshake. True handshake.
Strong men aren't needed. We live in times of abundance and resource, and even in developing countries, you're somewhat relatively safe. Now, on the other hand, at times of chaos, at times of necessity, strong men rise. Everyone needs them. Everyone looks to them. Day to day, let's say we go to like some big metropolitan, like liberal, I don't know these words, right? I'm not into politics or some shit. But you can imagine the kind of person, like the people I'm talking about, who are like, they've dyed their hair color, they say you're using the wrong pronouns and stuff. Do you know what I mean? If you go to like a university that's filled with these kinds of people, and you're a strong man, a man with high levels of testosterone, more like, you know, like an alpha male kind of character, they're not going to respect you. Yeah, he's a misogynist. You know, they'll say these things about you, like he's weak and he's a sexist and like, let's cancel him and shit, right? You're not needed. Let's just imagine a scenario in which you are needed. You're in the same situation, the same environment. An enemy walks in, a gunman walks in, a threat occurs.
Now, you know what's interesting is I used to be a tradcon. That used to be when I got into politics, I was definitely a traditional conservative. And I still have vestiges of that thinking, you know. In fact, I'm more team conservative than I am team, you know, Democrat, let's say. And what I'll tell you, man, from my experience, is the stuff that I said going to like I went to a very liberal school in high school. The stuff that I said would get me in trouble. Like it would get me in trouble not with just the teachers, I mean, but with the students, man. They would get really truculent. Um, just because their minds are warped. You know what I mean? But if some like, but for instance, if I say, and this is truly what happened. I said the FAG word, and I don't know why I put quotes on it. That's what I said. I said that word, and there was a bunch of girls that heard me, man, and they got mad, man. They were tight, man. They were it was crazy. They were mad. Anyways, they started saying stuff like, "Oh, you think that word's funny?" Blah blah blah. One of those girls, I was friends with her. Boom, hated me for the rest of the school year just because I used that word, man. Now someone else used that word repeatedly, and did the girls get mad at him? Did the students get mad at him? The teachers, yeah, they got mad. Uh, they just got it. They're teachers. That's their job. But the students get mad at him? No. They said, "Oh, can you please not say that word? It's not very nice." But when it comes to me, they got all mad. Now, the reason for that being is because although I had, although I was right wing in thought, which I do believe is the superior political ideology is right wing ideology, because I was a omega male and he was a, I wouldn't say he was an alpha male, but he was like a high tier beta. You know, he was like one of those. He might have been like a blue pilled alpha, I guess. He wasn't really an alpha. He was super skinny and you know. I mean, today I could beat the crap out of him, way bigger than him. But point is, back then he was on a different level than I was, man, and he could get away with that stuff. I couldn't because I was a feminine man. So even though I believed in the typically more masculine ideology, I was still a feminine man, and I wasn't able to get away with saying the same things that he could say, you know, or that we both said, but because he was more masculine, he got away with saying those things. So it's a very interesting idea that I think if you are you do become a masculine man, which I'm hoping that's what this guide is going to help me do and help you do as well. I do think you could go to a college. You go to a college, like say UCLA, very liberal college, and get away with saying the things, saying very conservative things. Not so conservative that they're like kind of make you sound like a douchebag for saying, but you say things like, "Oh, I'm religious, so I don't believe in abortion," and you say it with confidence, and you say it, with conviction and whatnot. I think you can get away with saying those things. But if you're a beta male, like a low tier beta male, and you say those things, you're not getting away with it. You see what I mean? And that's something I didn't understand when I was a tradcon. I didn't understand the difference between. I didn't know what an omega male and an alpha male was. I didn't know that. But now that I'm, you know, learning about the red pill, I'm starting to understand. There's a difference between red pill and politics.
Everyone's eyes gonna dot to solve the problem, the big strong man. You see, you aren't needed until you are. And at that point, well, people are expecting you to like do the work. And this isn't even to say the raw subconscious attraction from women. Now, women generally in Western countries, they are quite depolarized now. They bring in quite a lot of like masculine traits, and we'll discuss this in detail soon. They bring in masculine traits because they have to. They're pushed into the education system just like you are. They're fed this sort of narrative of like, the you go girl, boss girl mentality. And so they're quite masculine. But even then, a woman's raw, subconscious, primal sexual attraction will always be for the masculine man. And so whilst you've been conditioned to be, don't be masculine, don't be strong, don't be a misogynist, don't be dominant, don't be, patriarchal, you've been conditioned to be more and more feminine. And you've been told, yeah, this is good, be a good boy, be a good boy. The women that you want are fucking a guy who's way over here. You failed this test. Do you understand that this was all a test? Do you understand that the little boys who were raised with good, strong father figures, these little boys who naturally just had higher levels of testosterone, they were amused by this test. You could probably imagine one of those boys right now. Imagine a boy in primary school or high school that the teacher told him to be more feminine, sit down and be quiet. He almost like laughed at her and he was quite disruptive. Now, of course, this boy's probably a little bit stupid and he's probably broke in jail or something right now. But that was a boy, a male, a man who didn't fail this test. You almost had to be like this disruptive boy who probably had like autism or ADHD. One of those like disruptive boys who always got into trouble and always like laughed and swore at the teacher and stuff. He didn't succumb to the pressure of acting more feminine. He found that silly. We listened to those words of advice from perhaps well-meaning authority figures, teachers, the media, and we fell for that test. We fell for the test of giving up our masculinity for thinking, everyone's telling me to be more feminine. Think about the media, think about the conditioning, the brainwashing that you've been into. If you think about the shows that you used to watch or the movies that you see nowadays, what do you see? Generally, if it's like a show or a movie about like a family, generally, the wife is like this strong, really strong, resourceful woman. She not only looks after the kids, but she also like works, and she even looks after the husband. And the husband, the father, is a bumbling idiot. This is how men and fathers are portrayed in the media. The husband and the father.
A good example of that is Stranger Things. Like, have you seen Stranger Things? Oh my god, I hate Ted. I think Ted is my least favorite character in Stranger Things. And he does nothing. In fact, I don't even think it's that the mother is just very, I mean, she is kind of masculine, I won't lie, in some areas. But it's just that the dad is such a loser that it makes the mother look very masculine. And that's a Hollywood thing. I do believe that is something Hollywood is trying to curate to, do what Hamza is saying right here,
It's always like an idiot. He's always just feminine. He's thinking about the woman and stuff. He always keeps making these mistakes, and then the super mom comes in and she'll fix the day. And then sometimes, just sometimes, you can probably visualize this right now. Sometimes the media in movies and TV shows and cartoons and all this shit that's literally conditioning your brain, sometimes they will show a strong masculine father figure. But under what light will they show him? Well, he's patriarchal and he's gross. And he's too disciplined and he's too aggressive and he's made out to be a bad guy who eventually like messes up and somewhat embarrasses himself. So this is that dynamic you see in the movie where there's a strong man and he messes up and he gets like dethroned by the little nerd with the skinny neck who ends up becoming like a superhero and like looks up to his dad and says, oh no, this is the conditioning that you've been through. And you may think right now, oh well, that's just movies, that's just TV shows. But everything that you see, especially at a young age, deeply influences the kind of man or guy that you become. And if you followed along with me through this video so far and you drew that little bar that we spoke about and you put your line of where you are right now closer to the middle, then you can see that the result of everything that you were raised for has led you to a point that you are quite depolarized and you're not as masculine as you should be, because you totally understand this and everyone understands this. We should be far more on the right side of the spectrum. We should be far more masculine than we actually are. We haven't even spoke about the war on testosterone yet. Do you know that average healthy levels of testosterone in Western countries is from around 250 nanograms per deciliter to around 950.
I just want to add this caveat in there. If you think that going all the way if you actually think you're all the way at the end at the female, feminine side of the spectrum, if you think you're all the way at the end, you totally could be. I would say if you're all the way at the end, you're probably gay. I'm not to be disrespectful, but you probably might be something like that, or you're just really feminine. But you could be. Just because you're all the way at the end doesn't mean you're a woman. It just means you're very feminine. So being feminine doesn't mean you're a woman. You can't change your gender. Well, some people think you can change your gender. I don't think so. But if you think you're all the way at the end, then do it. If you think you're all the way here, you're a fucking liar.
If you are in this range, doctors will hesitate heavily to prescribe you testosterone. This range is inherently and blatantly sexist. A young man who's 22 years old and his dick doesn't work and he can't focus and he's depressed and he's lethargic and he's got brain fog. He gets out of bed in the morning and he's literally tired straight away, living like the shell of a life that he should be, with no vitality inside of him. That young man has a testosterone score of 260 nanograms per deciliter, and his doctor looks to him and says, "Oh, well, you're in the healthy range." Imagine having symptoms of low testosterone. You don't even need to imagine it. You're living that reality right now. I can say with certainty that the man watching this right now, like you, have low testosterone. Now, you might fit into this healthy range, this average range, but if you fit into the average levels of today, that means that your testosterone levels are actually below average of what they should be in the history of mankind. I said this before, and people scrutinized me, these fucking nerds. But if you're in the average range, then you're average. No, because the average range is like a modern day societal construct.
I do think if you want a better understanding of how testosterone actually works, I understand what he's saying. I definitely get what he means, and there's total validity to the metaphysics and the philosophy behind what he's saying. But if you want good science, I'm not going to tell you what it is, how test works, because I don't understand it. I would definitely go watch Derek's More Plates, More Dates breakdown of Hamza's I Want More Testosterone video. I think you'll understand Tess a little bit more. But I definitely see what he's saying. I mean, this is a generation of pussies. let's not beat around the bush here.
If you're in the average, let's say the right middle, 500 nanograms per deciliter, your great-grandfather had 2 to 3 times that. If we put you alongside one of those men, they would look like a different species. So by now, after just watching me rant for a few minutes, you either think I'm totally crazy and I'm delusional and I'm dangerous to society, or maybe, just maybe, you're starting to realize that, oh yeah, it does sound really crazy. It does sound kind of dangerous, and he is kind of weird, but he's got a nice beard. And he's wearing a bathrobe, so I can trust it. You're probably by now thinking, like, shit, there seems to be some truth into what this guy on YouTube is saying. You already knew, okay, my testosterone's going to be lower than what it should be. You already knew that, yeah, I'm not that extremely masculine and stuff. But when we ask the question why, which is always important, ask why, it starts to sound quite like a conspiracy theory, like a crazy guy would be talking about, there's a war on testosterone, like the fucking doomsdayer with like the big billboard, like, they're trying to kill our sperm cells, and ding, 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 ding. It sounds fucking crazy what I'm saying. Can you think of another explanation? Honestly, like, if you can think of another explanation, please, like, I'm not saying this to farm the algorithm or something, but leave a comment and like start a discussion, because I'd love to hear it. I'm quite open to this. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't think of a better explanation of why men are so depolarized, lacking masculinity, lacking testosterone, than just a war on masculinity. Conditioning from a very early age that men, that fathers, that masculinity, that strong men, that testosterone is bad for us, that is bad for society. And this is even, again, to talk about the issue of a lack of father figures in the home. Fatherlessness is a huge problem in the modern day, especially in Western countries. Honestly, I'd seem like some crazy misogynist if I went into this rant, and so, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. There is an incredible level of support for a woman who does not want to stay with the father of her children. It's a smart financial decision for a woman to divorce. It's actually a smart financial decision. Think about that. It's so rewarded in my country, in the UK, for a woman to just think, oh, well, he's not really, he's kind of lazy now and he doesn't treat me right and stuff, so I can just leave and I'll handle the kids. Because all she's grown up with for the last 20 years is the you go girl, super mom, you can do it all yourself. Women can do anything you can be a single mom, you career mom, you can do it. It sounds horrible, but like, honestly, just because you can manage it doesn't mean that you can or you should. Over 90% of teenage suicides are in a fatherless home. Over 90% of teenage criminality, of ASBOs, antisocial behavior orders are in fatherless homes. Over 90% of drug abuse of teenagers is in fatherless homes. Over 90% of teenagers who go on to be homeless are from fatherless homes. If you can think of some random problem that teenagers will have, I guarantee they are multitude times more likely to happen in a fatherless home. You can literally just go and Google this shit, and it's fucking where I've learned everything from. I'll like cite it if you want, but where I've learned all these.
This is not as important because we are talking about fatherless homes. it's a lot different than talking about what's this crap? Uh, Single parent households. I mean, if you just grow up with your mom, or I mean, you just grow up with your dad, this is a different topic. But if you do grow up with just your dad, you don't have a mom, dude. There's side effects to that too, man. I mean, you need both. You need the mom and you need the dad. And missing one can be very detrimental in different ways. I don't really know how detrimental not having a mother is. Uh, I didn't grow up in that situation. I always had my mom. And B, I never really studied it much because I didn't think it was as pervasive issue as fatherlessness. But if you don't have your mom, man, I'd assume you might lose some sort of empathic, uh, uh, you know, you might lose love. Like love, you won't understand the concept of love because you've never really been loved in that way. Because it's not really the father's job to love their kid. If you understand what I'm saying, it's more the mother's job. If you don't have that, I could definitely see how you could lose some empathy by not having that. But for the purpose of this video, fatherlessness is the more important topic. But also, if you don't have your mom, that's really bad, man. I feel for you, man. It's tough.
It's like facts. Obviously, I'm not totally accurate. It's not 90%. Maybe it's 89, or maybe it's 90. You know what I mean? There's a book called The Boy Crisis, and it goes over this issue of just boys being raised in fatherless homes by single mothers, and with this attitude that, oh, well, a single mom is a superhero and she can do anything. No, she can't. She cannot. A single mom cannot raise you in the same way that a mother and a father who are loving can. Now, of course, then, there's other arguments. Oh, well, what if the father's abusive and, should he be taken out? This gets complicated. But it's not that caveat that you really see in modern conditioning, is it? When you think about the movies and TV shows and the general belief of your society, chances are, like, there's this empowering thing for, like, women. Well, you don't need a man. You go, girl. Fathers are being taken out of the home. It's being supported by the government.
Yeah,
and so what happens to a little...
To stop the video again, I would like to know the stats on this, but I think Hamza's right. Like, I think most of the time the reason the father leaves is because he kind of just failed as a man. He realizes, I can't really provide for this kid because I'm not in a position to raise a kid, and I have my whole life ahead of me. And now it's ruined because I have this kid now. I'm not to say what the father did was right to leave, but you have to understand, I mean, the masculine imperative is to achieve and and win. And if he can't achieve because of some hindrance of a kid, I mean, then he might abscond and go after his goals. So then he can make enough money to then provide for that kid later on in life. Who knows? I don't know. Which probably won't happen. But point is like, I don't think that these fathers are bad people. I don't think they're abusive or anything. I just think they screwed up. And what would you do? Like, if you had a kid out of nowhere, it just happened. You're with your girlfriend, you screw up, you just get a kid, man. She doesn't want to abort it, which is a good thing. I don't think women today in the Western society should abort their kids, at least today. What are you gonna do, man? Are you going to try to stay around? Or would you end up leaving? Ask yourself that question. And it's serious dilemma.
A boy who grows up in a fatherless home, chances are that his mother, his single mother, will reward and praise him and positively reinforce him when he acts in a feminine way. Think about this. A boy is raised in a household with a single mother. Perhaps, just perhaps, there's a small amount of single mothers out there in the world that can take a step back from their own shoes and understand that they need to reward this boy when he does things that actually is unnatural for her. Perhaps. That's a small caveat, right? But for the majority of this household dynamic of a boy without a father figure with a single mother, she's going to have her own biases and opinions and feelings and beliefs, of course, you're right? And so she is going to respond to this boy with those biases, opinions, and beliefs. And so she's going to positively reinforce and praise him for the times that he acts in accordance to her beliefs and emotions and feelings. If this boy acts in quite a masculine, adventurous way, well, that's not very natural for her, is it? And so she'll be like, no, come back, you're going too far. But then if he sits quietly and crosses his legs and plays silently and he shares, well, she's going to like that. She's going to like those feminine traits. And so she's going to praise him for, oh, you're such a well-behaved boy. And you've got to understand that a parent's praise is that's how you became the person you are today. So if you think back to that bar and the line that you drew and you see where that line is exactly where you put it because you were praised to act like this. You were praised to act more feminine. If you had a strong father figure in the house, he would have praised you only when you acted strong and masculine. So you go out on your bikes and you're being competitive with your friends and you fall over, your dad would have said like, you went too fast. What's your mom going to say? What's your single mom? She's going to run, oh my God, you're bleeding, never do that again, never go that fast again. And that's just a very simple, fast example that a guy in a bathrobe can come up.
I mean, think about it. Who's the most masculine guy you can think of other than Hamza? Mr. Tate, Mr. Andrew Tate, man. Who is Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate's father? Come on, you don't know the history? That guy was one of the most masculine men you could ever think of. And he was there and he raised them, man. So, if you don't have that, man, it's going to be hard for you.
With. And I want you to imagine the very vast, huge amount of opportunities for praising or punishing behaviors that would go on in a child's life over years and years and years. And then imagine, well, he's raised in a single mother household. He's going to be punished when he acts in a way that she doesn't like, which potentially would be in masculine ways. And he's going to be praised and rewarded when he does act in ways that she likes, which probably would be in feminine ways. You've been conditioned in your own home. You've been conditioned in school. You've been conditioned when you watch movies and TV shows. You've been conditioned everywhere to be more feminine than you should be. Am I crazy? Maybe. But again, if there is someone with a better argument than this, I would love to hear it, but I can't think of any other reason why we are struggling with masculinity today. So we understand we are at an uphill battle, you and I, because we're going up against 20 years, 30 years, however old you are, conditioning. That's a lot. What's interesting and what gives us hope is that aligning yourself to the natural energy that you should have and being more authentic, you're supposed to be more masculine, so we're going to make you more masculine. It actually counteracts years of the inauthentic living that you've had so far. How interesting is that? Let's say you could be feminine, little pussy boy for 20 years of your life. With just about 1 year, maybe 6 months of training to be more masculine, you'll counteract most of that. Think about that just for a second of how could this work? How could you counteract so many years of your life with such a short period of self-improvement of focusing on being more masculine? Because this is how you're supposed to be. For all of your life, you've been swimming upstream, being pushed, but just constantly swimming upstream with so much friction. But finally, we're going to turn you around and make you swim alongside the stream. And you're going to find that it just feels so natural, so right. The fact that you've sat through and listened to all of this demonstrates at least your interest in the things that I'm saying. And you're probably relating to a lot of the things that we spoke about so far. Inside of you right now, if there is a feeling of injustice, if there is a feeling of like this gut pain that you've been wrong, that your life should have been so different than what it is today, then you know that you've clicked on the right video. So let's now discuss how you can become more masculine.